So, this new reality we see in Aleppo, it does need a little bit more explaining. To do that, we brought in Andreas Krieg, who's a military analyst with King's College London. He's based here in Doha. Together, we put it all on the map. Well, welcome back to the Newsgrid, Andreas. We're looking for your analysis on what's happening in Aleppo. So, we've seen this so many times. We know this is the enclave, which is the rebel forces are surrounded here, but concentrating on this area here, talk me through what's happening.
What has been happening for the last 24 hours, or even longer for the last couple of days, is they've been trying, the Russian forces of the Red Territory, being the Russian forces, the Syrian forces, are trying to push in from here and from here, trying to create an envelope, where they're trying to create, this is already a pocket, and they're trying to create another smaller pocket in the north of it, cutting and isolating this, and cutting those rebel forces that are in the north of that bit off any supply lines.
So, divide and conquer, basically?
It has been divide and conquer since last year. Basically, everything they've tried to do around Aleppo, and this is even the Hafiz al-Assad strategy that we've seen already in the 1980s, is about trying to create an envelope, besiege a territory, smoke it out, destroy the entire infrastructure, making civilians leave, and thereby depriving all the rebel forces of
Other than the fact that
support.
this is obviously where the rebel forces are, what's significant in these areas here? What will they get? They, being the Syrian and the Russian forces, get by taking all this back?
I mean, this is the last big stronghold for the opposition, Aleppo, right? If you lose this, you're losing Aleppo, even though here in these areas we have the FSA forces and other militia forces still there, but these are the outskirts of Aleppo. It's not really important. So if you lose this pocket, this is the end of Aleppo. And this is what they know. It's very significant symbolically, but you're right. What is actually left of it is very little, because what we see now is completely destroyed infrastructure. There is no water, no electricity. There are no people left, actually. So what Assad is conquering is basically rubble. That's what it is.
Let's zoom out a little bit and we will have a look at the wider picture, I guess. Yeah, I mean, this is a good reminder as well of how small this area is compared to all of this. As you say, it's outskirts, but I mean, that's just pressure all the time, isn't it?
Correct. The question is, we need to understand here we have ISIS actually. So in this area.
Okay.
So, and ISIS is not attacking the Syrian armed forces right now because they know that it is in their interest to put pressure on the opposition. So at the moment there's no relief for the opposition, because here the rebels are not really having the logistical support they need in order to cut in here and try to reconnect and try to free this part of Aleppo, which is something they've tried a couple of weeks ago. They tried to push through here, through the Al-Assad Academy area, in order to create another route for resupplies of those people who are locked in here. Hasn't worked. And from the east, the Syrian armed forces don't feel any pressure as well. So, and this is probably the most difficult thing right now, because how do the rebels resupply themselves in this kind of environment? No civilians, there's no water, there's no hospitals. So and this is why the front line basically collapsed over the last 24 hours, because they didn't have any resupplies. They couldn't even treat their own casualties. And they said most of the civilians have left anyway. Who do we protect? We're protecting a little bit of rubble. We might move back a little bit and then try to move back in afterwards. And this is actually the one thing that is quite interesting, because also in the other territories that the Syrian armed forces have captured or claimed to have captured, they don't have themselves as much capacity to actually hold out these territories, because after a bit of time, the rebel forces are able to move back in. So it's a very fluid situation, very dynamic. It doesn't mean that once the Syrian armed forces capture it, they can actually hold it. Also because the civilians are not on the side of the Assad regime, obviously, which gives a lot of support to the rebels who want to move back in. And that's probably what will happen. But let's not forget, if those people who are now entrapped here, if they don't get any support, and I mean significant support from outside, this territory might eventually get lost.